Welcome back to Robinsunne Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. The most important one is really subscribing because, well, actually that helps me, but it also helps you because the videos that I make you will get notified about. So that'd be cool. I'm beginning a new series and I haven't made, the full paper cut hello paper about it, but it's going to be about slow stitching. So my first one is going to be about, I've been stitching all my life, so this isn't my first anything, but this first one in a video format for you all is going to be all in ivory like this. I really like it. So what I'm going to do is just stitch and chat. And stuff comes up for me, as I'm sure it does for you, when I stitch. And I thought I would use this time to talk about stuff that comes up for me and what I think about when I stitch. So I think it makes some kind of sense to tell you where I'm coming from. I've been kind of interested in, spiritual stuff, metaphysical stuff in the last few years, and the reason for that is that about 5 years ago, I had a big belly surgery. And it turned out, which was something of a surprise to me, to be cancer in my uterus. And actually, it was kind of advanced. I mean, no disrespect to anybody. There's this archangel in the Christian storytelling. His name is Raphael. His color is green, which I think is why I used green for my slow stitch color. And Raphael is the archangel who's kind of in charge of healing. And I used to laugh all the time when I thought about the healing that I received from my... I'm sorry, this sounds so stupid to be giggling like this, but I'm pretty sure it's all Raphael's fault. Not in a bad way, but in a silly way. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tuck us in a little bit. Hello. There we go. Now I have to move my hands. So Raphael is the archangel of healing, and I used to go on walks as I was figuring out my life after this huge healing. I was diagnosed with stage 4B uterine cancer. And I laugh because 5 months after I was diagnosed, they said, we took another picture of the insides of your body and we can't find any cancer anywhere. And the doctor sat there going through this large number of x-rays that they had taken. And he said, yep, it's not here in your stomach. It's not in your uterus. It's not in your, anywhere. And he went basically, they had taken pictures from my hips all the way up to the beginning of my rib cage and or my sternum even. Like they really took a lot of pictures and there was nothing. And yeah. So I was extremely surprised actually. I mean, that had been my thought, don't get me wrong. But I didn't know that it would work. And it did, and I've spent a lot of the last 5 years trying to figure out what did I do correctly. And apparently, along on the ride with me was Archangel Raphael, because one of the signals that he's hanging out, or that energy is present, is fits of giggles, apparently. Yeah, so I used to think I was insane for wandering around guffawing at the amazing healing that I had accepted into my body, and then I can't remember where I first started reading about the archangels and who they are and what they're in charge of. But Raphael is in charge of healing, and apparently, yeah, he sent me many, many years ago, decades ago, laughter, and folks who would help me along with that laughter. And let me tell you, as a single parent of small children, hilarity is a really good attitude to have. Yeah. So anyway, I had this huge healing, and I was kind of wondering what I did to like make that happen. And I've had some ideas over the years. But it's made me look at my world view a little differently. And thus we get round in a big circle back towards slow stitching. What I'm going to sort of think and talk about in my times with you here is, scooch that up a little and over a little, is well, one of the things that has occurred to me is that the things I thought were true about our lives and well, religion in general, yeah, just what we get taught as children, and I'm alive years later after all this shenanigans, and so clearly the world doesn't quite work the way I thought it did. So, do we have me all in here? We do. So I've been trying to think, why was I... Well, I guess the first question is, how does the world work? And the second question is, why was I taught differently? Why was I given information that apparently isn't true? Because I don't feel like I'm that special a person. I mean, I'm special to me, but how did I manage to get a healing with an illness that was that dire? Yeah, what makes me so special that I get that? And apparently it's not about being special. It's about, I'm pretty sure, it's about having the right attitude. And in all honesty, I stumbled on this attitude, or I didn't know I had it when I did it. So I think the thing I did, short and sweet, was I just asked for a healing. And, okay, it's more complicated than that. Along with asking for a healing, I also was very aware that I had had little skin cancers before, and both my parents died of cancers, and so this seems to be sort of a family tradition to, well, my brother died of a heart attack, but anyway, it wasn't, cancer's sort of been on the edge of my life for most of my life, and yeah, so I guess I paid attention to. My mom had had a cancer when she was in her 40s, and she healed it, and it wasn't quite as advanced as the one I had, but I was aware that having a stage 4B cancer, clearly somebody was trying to get my attention, who had been trying to get my attention for a very long time with all the little skin cancers, and I once had a melanoma on my arm, and yeah, you would have thought I would have woken up and smelled the coffee, but apparently I didn't, and this is my thing. I think our souls, our greater souls, the greater soul that lives in the whole universe, who's immensely powerful, and part of that greater soul incarnates into us here on planet Earth and slows our energy way down so that we get to be physical, which is actually a really fun thing. Being physical is extremely fun because, amongst other things, you get to sew little cotton laces onto little linen pieces of fabric, and that's very enchanting. Yeah, so somebody needed me to wake up and figured I wasn't going to wake up unless the diagnosis was, like enough to wake me up. So I remember that spring thinking, okay, okay, I'm paying attention now. And I remember being somewhere in my house. I have a knot. And asking what I was supposed to be doing. Well, okay. What's wrong? What am I not paying attention to that I'm supposed to be paying attention to? And it was immediately clear to me that I was born to be an artist and play with paper and fibers of all kinds. And I wasn't doing that. I was doing other things, like parenting my children. So it's not like I think that was a bad idea. But I think I was getting to the point where I was ready to give up on ever being an artist in a meaningful way. And clearly, my heart and soul thought that was, a decision that might need to be revisited. And I wasn't revisiting it. Well, actually, I'd kind of given up. But, yeah. So anyway, I think my heart and soul were saying, really? Really? Do you want to give up like that? And I couldn't figure out how to make it happen. I couldn't figure it out. And one of the important things that I keep hearing in spiritual and metaphysical circles and scientific circles even, is that it isn't our job necessarily to figure out the how. Our job as human beings is just to be delighted by stuff and choose what stuff we're going to look at, and what we want to do. And not all of us want to do the same things. There are plenty of people who like to sew, but there are also plenty of people who like to build cars and design houses and, I don't know, like 50 gazillion things. And I think the point is that together, I mean, I'm glad we're not waiting for me to want to design a car, because I don't want to do that. But there are people who love doing it, so that makes my trips to the grocery store so much easier. And I'm sure that my art will not affect as many people as buy cars, but yeah, it pleases me. And I think what they all told me back 5 years ago was, that's what's important, is just be happy yourself. That's all we're supposed to do. I mean, not to the point of, bumping into other people with our supposed happiness, not to the point where we do damage to ourselves or anybody else, in order to act out what supposedly makes us happy. But sewing little bits of lace onto linen doesn't hurt anybody. I'm just not bumping into anybody in a harmful way here. So this is a fine thing to do. And I think that my heart, my soul, the angels, the God and Goddess of my understanding wanted me to know that. So the thing that I really wanted to talk about today, and somehow explaining my healing story, seems like an important part of why I would ask this question. So the question I want to ask is, what if we're loved? What if angels, gods, goddesses, guardians, spirits, beings from other planets, other spaces, we don't seem to be here alone. That seems to be pretty clear. So what if whatever those other beings are, love us? And even if it's not somebody else, what if we love us? What if it's all about our relationship with ourselves and our souls? What if our souls are saying, oh my gosh, you are doing such a cool thing. I love you. I think you're wonderful. I think you're beautiful. I think you're clever. I think I love to be with you. And it occurred to me that this would be a good question to ask of myself while I sew, because I seem to connect with the greater spirits of the world when I sew. So the reason I ask, what if we're loved, is because of how often I feel like I haven't done whatever it is I was supposed to do. I've been doing the wrong things. I missed out on opportunities. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. I am not pretty enough, smart enough, clever enough, yeah, whatever. And I wouldn't think that it was an important thing to ask on a video on YouTube. If I didn't hear that a lot out in the rest of our culture here in 2021, on the eve of a rather eventful, so far, inauguration of leadership in our country, in my country anyway. Yeah. So what if we were loved? How would that change? I mean, I'm asking this of me, but you're listening. So how would that change your life if some angel walked up to you and said, "You're perfect. You're delicious. You're doing it all right. We're not supposed to have seamless lives where we never stub our toes or never bump into other people. We're physical beings, and the possibilities of bumping and thumping around the world are legion. So the fact that we do bump into each other isn't quite so much a thing as what we do with that and how we learn from those experiences. So the angel's sitting there saying, yeah, I know you had, I don't know, what are all the things we can do wrong? I know you lost money, or I know you had a bad relationship, or I know you had 20 bad relationships, or I know you didn't finish college, or I know you don't have a job, or I know you got sick, or, and for me, that one time, I got really, really, really sick. And what if the angel was just sitting there in the chair next to you saying, yep, all those things happened, and still you are lovable. And I actually think you're kind of fantastic. And I love sitting here with you. And we get to be imperfect, and we get to be lovable. Both at the same time. Imagine that. I was listening to somebody talk about the concept of being a sinner, and that's what brought me to this thought of, an angel sitting in the chair next to me or opposite me and saying, yeah, you really can't get that far away from the divine. It's kind of not possible. It's not how the universe is built. You are always lovable. You are always a part of the flock. You always belong. There's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you could go that would make you not a part of the great whatever. So I just looked at the clock on my camera, and I think I will leave us with that there. So I wish you happiness in slow stitching, and I leave you with this look at the blessing diamonds when you bring them way up close to the camera like this. Look at all those glimmers. Yeah, so here's a question for us to think about. What if we're loved? How does that change our lives if we know we've never not been loved? We have always been purposeful and delicious, and all the things we've discovered, which are crunchy and horrible and terrifying, are a part of what we're doing here. And throughout it all, there's never been an instant when we weren't loved. I send you that thought, and I wish you and me awareness of that love. I'll see you next time. Bye.